Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Now, since beating SSA without attacking was such a fun experience, I thought why not do it for other games, especially since multiple people asked me to do it for Giants. So now we are here in Skylanders Giants and we have the same goal. We have to beat this entire game without attacking, which is honestly much harder in this game, but the rules are pretty much the same like last time. I can't use any attacks that are gonna deal damage to an enemy apart from lightning rods, clouds if there is no other way to avoid a certain fight, and again I'm forcing myself not to use stuff like block puzzles or bombs or laser puzzles to kill enemies, although there is one exception to this rule that I will talk about later. I also can't use any items or light cores to deal damage to enemies, and if an enemy dies by falling out of bounds or gets attacked by another enemy or just dies on its own, like for example an Enfuego Champi, the run isn't over because it wasn't me who attacked them. And now before I start the run, I want to thank the people who contributed to planning this run. They are Corey, Morning Bouquet, Physio Ninja, Scavenger, Ollie, and Blaze. However, this time I did try to do most of the planning and testing on my own, so I hope at least somebody out here is proud of me. Anyways, it's time to start the run, and I will be playing on easy difficulty because this run lasts multiple hours, so I don't want to make it even longer because this challenge isn't about surviving anyways, it's just about getting through the game without attacking. Maybe one day I'll try this on nightmare mode, but for now, I'm sticking to the easy difficulty. And that's about it. Let's start the Skylanders Giants Pacifist Run. It took only a couple of seconds and I already have an obstacle that I need to go through.
4 fucking seconds! It took you 4 fucking seconds to piss me off again!
I need a giant to lift this boulder, and I need winged boots so that I can do a backward jump on this bounce pad and also do Flameslinger's third attack while in the air so that I can get around this invisible wall and jump on top of this wall. From there I dash over this turtle and the fence and I can get past this gate without killing these chompies. Then we get to the first monster gate of the game, and this one is really easy to get past as I run into this corner, add player 2, remove player 2, restart the level and warp there, and I will end up on the other side of the gate. Who the hell put this here? This is a different game. The joke is dead anyways, it's time to move on. Next up, we got to be careful while pushing these blocks because there's 3 chompies near them, and then I go to this bounce pad that is only available if you kill these 2 Archeans. However, this wouldn't be a pacifist video if I didn't have a trick up my sleeve for these bounce pads. In fact, I have 2 of them, one of them being Zook and the other one being Sprocket. Yes, believe it or not, Sprocket is actually useful for once in her sad little life. She's not only useful, but one of the main reasons why this run is even possible. And why is that, you may be wondering? Well, it's because Sprocket can spawn her turrets and Zook can spawn his mushrooms, and if you time it correctly and if you get their positions right, the mushrooms will push the turrets through the wall, so once Sprocket jumps into it, she will be in the wall, which teleports her to the surface and pretty much lets you have a bounce pad of your own whenever you need it, because this is a consistent method of going up to someplace if you need it. However, this Zook plus Sprocket, or as I like to call it, Sprook Skip, haha, comedy genius, isn't so simple. There are many ways this can go wrong. The biggest problem for this run is definitely the fact that if you don't jump into the turret quick enough, it will start shooting at enemies, meaning the run is immediately over. Also, this is very annoying to do if there are enemies near you, so that is why I use the time twist hourglass to slow enemies down, and I also usually try to lure the enemies away from the place where I'm doing this skip so that they don't get hit by the turrets. There is still one more gate to get past, but truth be told, you don't even need to go through it to finish the level. First, I reset the enemies so that they don't attack me, which is done by entering the Skylanders menu and exiting it, and while your Skylander is returning to the game, you repeatedly add and remove player 2, which confuses the game and resets the positions of the enemies. Now that the enemies are not a problem, I switch to Bouncer and use his rocket attack to destroy these rocks around the last chain, and then I get to this corner and use his laser attack to destroy the chain, and the level just ends. So what happens if I take him off? What was he, player 2? Do I just fly endlessly?
Oh, air mine! Yeah! Take that, you dumb mine!
If you thought the first level was annoying to do, you were about to witness possibly the craziest level in this run already. First I used Time Twist Hourglass and the Giant to destroy these walls so that the chompies don't get killed by bouncers stepping on them, or a bomb that I would need to throw if I wasn't using a Giant. Then I go through these walls without any items because I need to save my Hourglass for something else in this level, and then I set up a warp here, restart the level and warp so that the enemies don't bother me. As you can tell, I need to go up here to pick up the first item in this level, and that means it's time for some Sprook action. Then we have this first monster gate that holds a key behind it, but thankfully if you just stand in this corner and add player 2, the second player will just spawn on the other side, pick up the key, and once you remove him, the key will go back to player 1, meaning you can pass this key gate with ease. Then I switch back to Bouncer so that I can get through this wall without the bomb, and then it's time for some shenanigans by the one and only, my goat, Whirlwind. It was really sad for me that she had no use in the last video, but trust me, she's gonna be used way more than I actually wanted in this game. What's interesting about her, in this game at least, is that you can find certain edges where Whirlwind is angled in a weird way, and if you fly from that angle, you can clip through gates. Now this is a big problem because in order to clip through a gate, you need to attack and immediately turn around, which puts you on the other side of the gate. That is why I always need to make sure no enemies are anywhere near me, because Whirlwind can easily hit them and ruin this entire run. Thankfully in this level, it's not hard to lure enemies away from this area, and this stealth is easy to achieve, so this is not a problem. Then you can use the whirlwind clips to climb up here and pick up this key, and then pick up the other key normally and get to the second item. However, if you fail this jump because you're an imbecile like me, you can use Ghost Roaster to jump over this key gate, although this is pretty annoying to pull off, especially since you have to go into this house before it in order to spawn Auric here, but that also spawns enemies here, which makes this a nightmare to do. Anyways, eventually I left these enemies stuck behind this rock back here, and after many fails, finally managed to jump over this gate and get the second item. Now this is the riskiest and most annoying part of the level because I switch back to Whirlwind and I have to find the right tilt angle on the corner of this red square. After years of trying, I managed to do it, but as you can tell, this monster gate has many enemies very close to it, meaning there is a high risk when it comes to hitting enemies with the Whirlwind clip, which is why I use my hourglass that I saved to slow enemies down, and I do the clip in the corner so that I don't hit the root runner. Anyways, once you're past this gate, these enemies don't attack you, so you can safely do 2 Sprook skips to pick up the third item and finish the level. Just like in Spyro's Adventure, the third level is the first level where you can warp to skip the first half of the level. However, here the warp is pretty interesting because instead of going to some different level to set up a warp, you can just set it up in the intro dialogue while you're flying over this area, because when you warp, it genuinely puts you right there. After that, we only have one monster gate to get past, and unfortunately, I am forced to get past it using the Zook and Ghost Roaster method, which was actually a completely viable method for the SSA Pacifist run as well, but since I completely hate doing this, I wanted to avoid it back then. But here, I unfortunately have no other idea, so I have to resort to pushing Ghost Roaster through this gate, while also getting attacked by the Drow Archer.
Stop doing that.
It didn't take long to do this, thankfully, but that doesn't mean that I like the Zook Ghost Roaster skips anymore, because I originally wanted to do that for the last gate in chapter 1, but it took me 50 entire minutes to beat that level because of it, so I decided to search for other options, as you can tell. The only thing left in this level is an arena battle, so here I decided to use Zook mushrooms to push enemies off the edge whenever I could, because this attack doesn't actually deal any damage, so I am gonna make an exception for it, just like I did for Lightning Rod's Clouds, because these enemies anyways need to get killed in order to beat this level. It is however pretty hard to push these dudes with Zook, so I decided just to use Lightning Rod against them in the first phase, and when it comes to the second phase, I used the Central Fire to kill most of the enemies and use Zook's Mushrooms to push Spellpunks and Drow Archers off the cliff, and then at the end, Brock can run off the edge on his own, and that's the third level completed. This level is the easiest one so far, as I just went back to the start of chapter 1, set up a warp here, and that warp leads me right to the end of this level, so now I just needed to defeat these enemies with Lightning Rod and beat Dreadbeard in Skystones, and that's it. Although it is pretty cool to me that because I skipped the actual tutorial for Skystones, Dreadbeard is the one who gives you the tutorial and has only Spiderlings in his deck.
I've been wanting to try this deck all day.
This level is also pretty simple, as I set up a warp with player 1 here in the intro dialogue, and that puts me into the air at the end of the level, so I just use Terrafin's main attack to slow down my fall so that I can get over the ski gate, and then I just finish the level normally. This warp is pretty inconsistent though, because a lot of the times it just didn't warp me at all, but once you get it right, that's all you gotta do in this level.
Walk away, that's
This level is pretty crazy, although there is nothing new to add here when it comes to my challenge, because speedrunning this level doesn't require hitting an enemy, so I just need to copy an already existing run of the level. The only thing I need to do is nothing. At least when it comes to the first robot section, because you can actually barely survive this section despite not attacking a single time. And yeah, some enemies do get killed, but there's nothing I can do about that. Anyways, now it's time to completely break the level. Using Drobot's hover mode and going backwards, and then immediately turning to the other side and activating his afterburners makes you clip through this invisible wall and this big gate, so now you can just continue going through the Archean robot section without the robot. Because this takes ages, I switched to Chop Chop, because if you do Chop Chop's third combo and then repeatedly use his third attack, you reach probably the fastest possible speed in this game. I mean, just look at this. You can't even look at this because he's so fast you don't even see him. Anyways, I had to get past the second big gate, but Drobot clips no longer work if you switch to a different Skylander, so I went back to Sprook, and this took a bit of time, but eventually I got past this wall and then went back to Chop Chop until I got to the end of the level. Here at the end, I need to use Sprook to get up here, and then to get up here.
And as you can tell, because it has activated a single switch, the water is still here, which looks pretty funny.
The only thing left now is to do this puzzle,
And the level is done.
I start this level by setting up a warp right here so that when I restart the level, the enemies don't bother me while I'm doing a Sprook skip to get to the end of the level pretty much instantly. Then I gotta get over this invisible wall, which is possible with Zook and Crusher. Damn, Zook has a whole roster. Future would be proud. Anyways, the interesting thing about Crusher is if you do his third attack and then spawn mushrooms right on top of him, once the animation of the attack is over, he has nowhere to go other than upwards. And this is surprisingly pretty easy to do, and then we can just go into the first boss fight of this game, Chompy Mage. Now, Chompy Mage doesn't spawn and Fuego Chompies in the first phase no matter what world you're in, so what I decided to do is wait for all the Chompies to spawn as Whirlwind and then deload all of them, switch to Lightning Rod and deal as much damage as possible before he starts spawning Chompies again. I repeat that a couple of times and then the first phase is over, and for the other phases I just let Chompy Mage kill himself by inhaling explosives for some reason. And that's it for this level. This is a really easy level to do because I just set up a warp in the intro dialogue right here, and then when I warp, I switch to Flameslinger because his hitbox is small enough, meaning he has a smaller chance of messing this warp up, and that warp puts me right at the end of the level, and then for the final fight, I use Lightning Rod and that's it. This level is again easy but pretty interesting at the same time. Once again I set up a warp at the start and perform the warp with Flameslinger, which puts me here, and I first go to buy a Skystone cheat because I literally have the weakest possible Skystones deck and I do need to beat this dude later in the level. Before that though, I set up a warp here before the Cyclopses jump off the edge, and then when I restart the level and warp back here, they no longer even exist, so they can no longer die. And now I can safely do another Spruik up warp and then do the rest of the level normally, at least until I get to the arena battle. Here I actually don't need to hit a single enemy, because if you stand on this tile with Jetvac and do his second attack, he will bring the Jawbreaker into the arena, and if you time it right and suck him in just as these tiles are about to fall down, he just dies instantly and the level ends. This one requires a return to Secret Vault of Secrets, and I just gotta repeat that run until I get to this place where I set up the warp. Then in the actual level I do the warp while this intro is happening, and afterwards I wait for Flint to finish this dialogue, and that puts me at the end of the level. In one of my attempts I managed to fail this like 5 or 6 times in a row, and it wasted like 15 or 20 minutes of my life. It was actually insane. I don't think I'm gonna use him. Never mind, I messed up the warp. How did I fuck it up again, bro? You know what? You learn from your mistakes. It doesn't matter that I made the mistake 3 times in a row, or 4. Is it 4 now? I don't even know. I just keep making mistakes, man. But I keep not learning from them, so save me. I cannot place Drobot. Wait, I need my other Drobot, because this Drobot is just gonna kill them. Okay, you know what? I at least appreciate that I have still enough brain cells to tell me do not place Light Core Drobot because he's gonna kill the Chompies. Does it? Do I need the Soul Gem if I... Oh, I need the Soul Gem. Okay, well, we're doing this again. Oh my god, is that not beautiful?
Try not to get too freaked out on
Okay.
but I think this may be a ghost ship.
Skylanders of the air element are stronger.
Why? Why did it work this time? What's going on? What did I do wrong? No way, bro. This is actually insane. Anyways, once I finally got here, I had to kill 2 waves of trolls, and then when I saw Jawbreakers coming, that means that a bomb guy is coming with them, so from that point, I don't need to fight enemies anymore. However, this is the level where I gotta make an exception to my rules, because I'm genuinely not sure if it's possible to do this section without killing this one fucking Drow archer. I've tried multiple times when testing, and he always dies to a bomb. I even tried deloading him, but that just softlogs that level, so he unfortunately has to be a victim of an attack. A terrorist attack, might I add, since I'm literally bombing his ass, but I'm pretty sure this isn't avoidable. If anyone has an idea, definitely tell me. I probably won't redo this entire run just for this one Drow archer, but I would be interested in seeing whether it's possible to save another life. Time to go back to chapter 8 and set up a warp right here, which puts me right in front of the Drillax fight. Now Drillax obviously has to be killed, meaning I am using Lightning Rod, but Drillax also spawns Chompies and Inhumane Shields, so I was wondering if I could spare them by deloading them, and that didn't work, but what happened is pretty funny, so I'm just gonna show my original reaction because I had never done this before the final run, which was the successful run in the end. Oh my god, I can duplicate it. Holy shit, I didn't know this was possible. So what happens now? There's like 2 of them. Can I do this again? Yeah, I can do this infinitely. There's There's free drill axes. Oh my god. Okay, we're not doing this because this. Okay, I tried my best to deload the enemies, but the enemies don't want to be deloaded. Lightning Road is T-posing, okay. Okay, the game has gone nuts. Okay, we're at the second phase. Wait, but there's no bounce pads. There's no bounce pads. What do I do now? I'm getting attacked by 2 drill X's. This is beautiful. This is what YouTube is all about. 0 viewers, but I'm having the time of my life. So yeah, as you can see, my game is on the verge of collapsing, so I decided just to kill the regular enemies as well and fight 3 drill axes at the same time, although it does speed the boss fight up because it triples the amount of damage you do, so I would like to test one day if it's possible to duplicate drill axe enough times where he could die in one single hit. Maybe that's gonna be a future video, but for now this is another level successfully done.
Don't you shake your ass in my face like you did something then, Pipsqueak.
Once again, I needed to set up a warp in an earlier level, and that warp is set up here at the start of Rumbletown by doing the Zook Crusher thing again and using Crusher's height as a coordinate for the warp. However, in order to get up here, you would have to get past the monster gate, so in order to avoid that, I decided to do a Sprook skip here, since there is anyways only one Chompy that can easily be lured away, so I thought to myself, what could possibly go wrong? Oh my god, it just killed the Chompy. I just failed to run. Okay, that's it. That's it from me. 5-hour stream, all for nothing. Oh my god, that's annoying. That one fucking Chompy has to be spawned at the fucking start. I can't believe. As painful as this fail was, you gotta admire the fucking accuracy of this turret. The Chompy wasn't even on the screen and still got his ass sniped. Anyways, fortunately on my successful pacifist run, that Chompy decided to jump off the edge by himself, so I had nothing to worry about. As for Wilikin Mountain, once the warp is done, the only thing that's left to do is the arena battle. Now for the first phase, Lightning Rod is necessary, but for the second and third one, I decided to lead enemies into saws or push them into them with Zook's mushrooms. However, for the final fight I did have to go back to Lightning Rod, but that was anyways much more fun than just trying to push enemies with mushrooms, and it was pretty easy to beat this dude, and that's another level done. Now this is an absolute hell of a level for a run like this. As you know, whirlwind skips back in Junkyard Isles were very risky, so this level brings the same risk because I'm only using whirlwind to beat it. First I enter the Chompy door because it's possible to do a whirlwind tilt right here, and then I lure the Chompies as far away as I can from this gate and hope that I don't hit any enemy, and that's the first issue done. The second and third issues are right next to each other in the small fish door. This area lets you get another spot for the whirlwind tilts, but it also has 2 monster gates that need to be clipped through. The first gate isn't even that bad, it's just pretty annoying constantly trying to lure these enemies away when you have to wait for these things to open up. However, the second gate is a pain in the ass because these trolls don't follow you like Chompies or Jawbreakers, so I just tried my best to put them as far away from the gate as I could, but then this happened. Ooh, we're gonna have to rewatch that because I don't know if I hit him or if the troll hit him. If I hit him, I'm gonna kill myself. But if the troll hit him, then we're still alive. This is actually really scary. Now I'm gonna tell you why I don't think Whirlwind hit this Jawbreaker despite the rainbow landing very close to him. As you can see, when a D-Riveter hits an enemy, the enemy gets covered with a bit of fire, and as you can tell right here, this D-Riveter is shooting, and while he is shooting, the Jawbreaker gets hit, and as you can clearly tell, he is covered in fire. So the VAR check says no penalty. As for the rest of the level, there is nothing that risky, so yeah, that's it, but I definitely did shit myself in this level like I did in no other in this or the previous game. This is the level that completely took my soul and forced me to end the stream without even completing the entire run. That being said, there is almost no risk of actually failing the run here, but this level definitely has the most difficult skip out of any level in Spyro's Adventure or Giants. But we will talk about that later. First I gotta explain how to completely fuck this level up. You do that by pressing down on the D-pad and 2 on player 1's remote at the same time while you're in the Autogyro. After that is done, I fly it into this wall, which turns the camera around, and then I do a kamikaze inspired move and kill myself, and that respawns me at the ending area for some reason, so I fly here and add player 2 and remove him so that I can set up a warp right here. Once I restart the level, I gotta set up a warp at the start of the level while also warping here. This is where this level becomes problematic because I can't use player 2 because of the warp I just set up at the start of the level, which is needed if I want to finish this level, and that is why I can't use any of the Zook skips, which only leaves me with whirlwind clips. Now once I'm here, I have to take whirlwind off and then place her on the portal again in order to set up a back warp. The back warp setup is needed because I first have to go back to load the end of the level, but once that's done, the gates are loaded as well. So now I do the back warp by quickly adding player 1 and removing player 2 immediately, and then taking off the Skylander, and then I add player 2 again and remove player 1 and place whirlwind on my portal, and the back warp is done. So I can get past the first switch without activating it. Now comes the most annoying part of this entire run. As you can tell, this bounce pad is in the sky, meaning only giants can use it. There is also a golem here that needs to be lured as far away as possible, because this skip I'm about to show you is bad enough to set up when nothing is distracting you, so I can't imagine setting it up while also getting hit by the golem. That would be even more painful. Anyways, once the golem is gone and the bounce pad is used to get up here, I switch back to whirlwind, and this is where the agony starts because I have to somehow get a really difficult whirlwind tilt on this edge, and not only that, but as soon as I get the tilt, which is already insanely difficult to do, I have to make sure not to fall off the edge because I won't be able to get back up. So as you can tell, this angler requires quick reaction speed and really specific movement and positioning of whirlwind, and I genuinely did this for 2 hours straight and couldn't get it. Like, I'm not kidding. I sat on my sweaty ass chair in my stinking ass room for 2 entire hours and just kept trying to get the right angle again and again and again and again, and to add fuel to the fire, every time I'd fall down from this edge I had to switch back to a giant to even get up here, which may not seem that bad as it only takes a couple of seconds to do, but you can imagine how annoying it becomes when you do it repeatedly for 2 hours. So yeah, I just had to let go, give up and go to sleep because at that point it was 1 AM and I was streaming for like 6 hours, but I came back the next day, did the entire level again and somehow got this done in only 8 minutes. It was kind of a sour feeling knowing I could have finished this run the day before in one single sitting, but hey, I gotta take what I can, and I am honestly just happy that I even did this skip because a part of me did believe that I would never do it, but hey, here we are on the other side of this gate and it feels so good. Anyways, now the only thing left to do is to activate this final switch, and as soon as it's activated, warp back to the start of the level and enter the Autogyro, which is still broken, and from there I just went backwards a bit, and once I was past this door I pressed down on the D-pad and 2 on the player 1 remote again, and that was it for this absolutely insane level. After the absolute torture that the previous level was, it's good to know that this is one of the easiest ones, as all I needed to do was go to the start of chapter 9 to set up a warp that lets me skip the entire level, and then I just walk into this corner, add player 2 and the level ends. This one is also pretty simple, as setting up a warp at the start of the Oracle puts me near the end with only these last couple of enemies standing between me and Kaos, and this part is a bit tricky because I lure enemies as far away as I can before using Time Twist Hourglass for the last time, and then I try to do a spruik skip before the bombers start throwing bombs at me, which would result in me dealing damage to other enemies through that bomb. That is why I was super careful when doing this, and if I didn't succeed in doing this spruik skip immediately, I just set up another warp and restarted the level. After a couple of tries, I managed to climb up here, meaning I have gone past the final obstacle before the final boss, and now there is nothing standing in between me and Chaos. Unfortunately, this is where I find out that Lightning Rod's clouds for some reason can't hit the Fist of Arkus, meaning this is the first thing that has more aura than Lightning Chat, so I decided to search for another passive Skylander attack, and I decided to use Cinder's Ghost because just like Lightning Rod's clouds, it doesn't require any buttons. I did still want to include my man Lightning Rod here, so I used him for this phase and to attack Kaos' head, and also whenever Kaos spawned enemies, I just immediately deloaded them so that they don't get killed for no reason. And yeah, this fight is really easy to do when there are no enemies around and when it's on easy difficulty, and the run was finally completed. In case anyone's wondering how many monster gates and bounce pads I avoided,
I'll be on the safe side, thank you.
Okay, come on, you know I had to include it at least one time. Anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. I don't want to make this outro long for no reason when there's nothing special to say other than thank you to everyone who helped me make this run possible, and thank you for watching this video. I'll see you next time when we are hopefully going to be doing the same challenge in Skylanders Swap Force.